Hey there, John Gums here with Dakota Grappler, coming to you live tonight to talk a little bit of wrestling with Nate Humann and Bill Holtan. Just going to have a lot of fun, just talk anything wrestling. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube. We'll have several watchers as the night goes. I know that it's crazy. Sometimes I get questions all week long after we do some of these. Still trying to go 2 times a week, so if you want to catch it again, we'll go to a Sunday basically breakdown show of how the weekend went. We'll definitely talk about how the Rotary and how Castleton Letterman's went. We'll also talk a little bit of college stuff. I know if we go Sunday evening, we'll be able to catch the Minnesota and Wisconsin dual information. NDSU has a duel this weekend against Wyoming. Hope that's probably me. Better double check if we got something in the background. Every once in a while, I have my YouTube on the background, so if you catch that. But I'm going to have our 2 guests tonight. Again, we got Bill Holtan. Have him just do his quick intro, and then I'll have Nate introduce himself. So, Bill, just tell everybody who you are.
Hi, Bill Holtan here from Central North Dakota. Just a big wrestling fan. Been around the sport for a lot of years and all over the state of North Dakota. And these days I seem to follow college a little bit more than high school, but I still follow Class B real closely. So it's just fun to talk wrestling.
No, definitely. And Nate.
Hi, I'm Nate Humann. I'm the co-head wrestling coach at Bismarck Century High School, and I wrestled out at the University of Mary just fresh out of college. So that's about all you need to know about me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll talk some D2 wrestling. He's got to see Mary and all the other ones. I know Mary had 1 guy in the rankings. I know Minot's got 2, or think, and then Northern I think only has 1, if I remember right, or maybe 2 in the rankings. We'll talk about a little bit of that. We'll talk a little D1 wrestling. I did watch a little bit of the Scuffle. I watched a lot of Iowa wrestling actually, and we'll talk a little bit there. But just wide open. First question, I'm actually going to head toward Nate. Being high school, we have a big Rotary wrestling tournament this weekend. How's your team looking?
I think we're looking good. Honestly, the Rumble, we had 2 guys place. We had Neil Bohr place at 113, and then we had Clay Redens place. Neil placed 7th, and then Clay Redens placed 6th at 138. Really proud of both of those guys. Neil was unseeded, came back through the wrestlebacks, wrestled some guys really tough, locked up some stuff on top that I'm going to keep a secret. So the South Dakota people that are listening don't know what happened, but no. I think you'll find out what Neil's pretty good at pretty quick. But and then Clay Redens wrestled the number 2 seed. We were the 7 seed, wrestled the number 2 seed from Wayzata, Cale Swenson, who ended up winning the tournament. And we were winning 4-1 after the first period, had the kid on the ropes, and ended up not turning out our way. Ended up losing 6-5, but Swenson kind of went on to dominate the rest of the tournament. And Clay ended up dropping 2 more matches, but, I mean, could have easily been right there in the finals, I thought. So positive, and it was a good loss to take, and shows that there's still some, like for Clay, it shows that there's still work to be done for sure.
No, definitely. You know, I enjoyed it. I was there too, and I really liked the competition that you guys brought. Every match, I thought you guys were in pretty good shape, going into Christmas. And, you get those few days off because it was sitting there right on the 27th of December.
Yep.
You have that little break.
And then we gave our guys, we didn't start school back up till last Thursday. I guess will be a week from tomorrow, but we gave our guys off until Thursday just because it's a well-needed break. And I was really happy with our practices we had on Thursday and Friday last week. And then this week it's all been good too. We have a little more energy, gave us a little bit of pep in our step again here. So going into the Rotary, so that's good.
Yeah. Now, what do you think your size of your guys, compared to, we're going to see Montana, we're going to see South Dakota. Do you see that North Dakota wrestlers are a little bit undersized? I thought when I was at, especially the Rumble and the Red, we looked a weight class too small for a lot of guys.
Yeah, I would agree. Our best guys are a little small because they don't have to necessarily cut a ton of weight to be successful in North Dakota. And just from being down in Gillette, I know those Montana kids, those Sydney kids, they don't have a weight descent plan, so they're cutting a fair amount of weight. And Minnesota, South Dakota, same thing. So you can really tell the teams that have to follow the strict, National High School Coaches Association descent plan. North Dakota is one of those states. So we're kind of aced out amongst our neighbors all over. So
now I want to talk about one of the finals matches. I watched every one of them on track. Do you know if the Rotary is going to be on track? Do you know if there are matches?
I'm not sure. In the past, I don't believe it has been on live streamed on track. So I can't imagine this year to be any different.
I might have to bring my camera and live stream a little bit. I know that Rapid City brings theirs, and maybe I'll bring them down so that we can have the finals at least streamed.
That was always cool. I remember you guys. Well, you always used to be on the broadcast when Beck did it. I wish they'd do that again. That was kind of cool when they had it on TV. I wish they'd bring that back. But
anything to promote the sport. It's such a big tournament.
Right.
I think it'd be great to have the finals on.
Yep.
And so I'll see. I'll have to get permission. So I'll make a few calls tomorrow.
Need to get them back on the state finals on TV too. But
they are.
They are going to be okay. They are okay.
Yep. Beck now has control again this year, and they are pumped to have them all going. In fact, Jordan Hasler and I will get together and we had them on last year again. And
did you? Okay. I guess I was there, but I wasn't paying attention. Okay.
We'll have the A and the B again going on Matt to Matt. He does such a great job covering everything. And so I'll be happy to definitely bring that to you guys during the state wrestling tournament. But now, one more thing. I was watching the finals. I wanted to talk about the 126 match. We saw a young gentleman from North Dakota battle a kid from Minnesota. You remember that finals match?
I do.
Because I tell you what, that was probably – when you think of technique about shots and reshots and total scrambles, every move was 100%, and there was no giving up on anything, all shots. Barnhart, I thought, was cream of the crop in North Dakota when it comes to 126-pounder, and he met his match. It was probably one of the best matches I've seen in a while.
I was talking to Tate before the match. Tate Barnhart, or Reese's brother, was my training partner in the last couple of years, and Tate had mentioned that Reese had wrestled this kid a couple of years ago. He's from Fairmont. I believe his last name is Rowan, I think it was. And Reese had beat him, but he's like, this is going to be a tough match. This kid's pretty good. And turned out to be that way. What I remember from the match is that kid was Reese did a really nice job defending, and Reese was attacking too. But that kid's pace was just as good as Reese's, and he just kept taking those outside double legs. And I don't think – yeah, it was a great match, but I think that was tough for Reese to really get his offense going because that kid kept shooting so much. And it wasn't necessarily that he was trying to score. I think he was just trying to pepper Reese's legs so Reese couldn't get to his attacks. So
and he lowered his level so well. So he had a hard time. He would stop a shot and he would stay down, so he'd take that outside shot, right to that double, and it was good.
And give him time to breathe. Really, is basically what it came down to.
And Reese hasn't had a match like that this year, so that definitely had to open his eyes up. And Melmer, and they're going to have to I definitely think that'll open him up a little bit more even as the year goes.
Well, it's easy to armchair quarterback being like some guys that are out of high school and college wrestling, and when you're sitting in the corner, you can say things and make it sound easy. But honestly, like, what's great for going to these tournaments, like whether it's the Rumble on the Red, whether it's maybe teams that are going to the Clash, or you go to, Fargo Nationals or, junior duels and things like that. It's like, it shows our guys, even our best guys, that there's a whole nother level out there if you want to be the best.
Right.
So, and I know Reese is a really motivated kid, so there's a little more fuel to the fire. Look out.
Well, I honestly think that this will open up doors for him too. Where he's just a junior, and so this whole next year, he hasn't been a 24/7 wrestler. Where you see him in the freestyle and stuff, he hasn't been. And so with the talent that he brings, if somebody could hone it into focus toward college wrestling, he'll be a very good college wrestler.
Yep, he's still got and he's probably got to train with Drew Steidler quite a bit, and he wrestles with his brother. But just imagine if he had someone like perfectly his size when he gets a really good training partner, and when he gets in a room, I look for really big things from Reese. Because just look at the jump. I mean, Tate was a really good high school wrestler, but look at the jump Tate made when he went to college. So imagine that with Reese. So, and a little bit of interesting fact, I was talking to somebody, but that this Rowan is a really good wrestler. He was a runner-up last year and a state champion the year before in Minnesota. He was a runner-up last year. He lost to Chase DeBlair, who used to wrestle at Fargo Davies. So he lost to DeBlair in the final. So he's a double-A kid, yeah. So
I love that. That's great information.
Yeah, I did not realize that. I was wondering where.
That's what I was told anyway. That was what I was told.
I was kind of wondering if we were going to see Chase, at the Rumble, but they didn't come. But
they went to the Cheesehead, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I forget. I didn't even look at the cheesehead. I always used to. It's another one that's a tough tourney.
Yep.
No. Hey, Bill. Okay, now here's another thing. Rotary this weekend. Carrington is back at the Rotary. Pluses and minuses, anything there for Carrington coming into the Rotary?
Well, I think the Rotary is a great tournament. You know, we started going back. Carrington came back to the Rotary in 2014. So the year that I remember, because it was the year Billy was a sophomore. So
that was my senior year of high school. Yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
Joe Bakke was in the finals. I remember Joe Bakke was
in the finals, and Billy took third that year. But I mean, it was a great tournament. I think it was one of those things that for that group of kids was pretty eye opening. I mean, we were already going to the Rumble, and it's really funny how you go, and you'll see this week too. You'll go to the Rumble, and some weight classes are tougher at the Rotary than they are at the Rumble, and vice versa. And a pretty good example was would have been junior year of those boys, so 2015. Walker Carr won the Rumble and took third or fifth at the Rotary. So it was him. Actually, it was him and a Sydney kid in the finals of the Rumble, and I think that they were. I can't remember, but they were, neither one of them were in the top two at the Rotary. So just the way that those weight classes fall. So I will see that again, and I think it's a fantastic tournament. It's, of course, I wrestled in it when I was in high school, so it has a lot of history. But for the Class B kids, I think it's great to see another level of competition, another bunch of competition, because we don't see. There's so many tournaments where we see all these Class B teams, whether it's East West or Lisbon or Linton, rugby. Mm-hmm. And so, it gives just a way to mix up that schedule a little bit for these guys. So I think there's only 3 Class B teams there this year: Napoleon, Beulah-Hazen, and Carrington. So,
yep, exactly. And then the out-of-state teams are Aberdeen, Sydney. Then you got both Rapid City, Stevens, and Central. Yep. I think that is about it, if I remember right.
Those other Montana schools are going to the Cowboy this weekend in Miles City. Miles City, those Glendive schools are going to Miles City instead.
Well, you got to see Sydney. Let's make a little prediction. I am going to predict that they're going to be either 1 or 2 at the Rotary between Bismarck High and Sydney. Those are my 2. That's going to be the battle.
We'll see who they weigh in, but I think you could bet the farm on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
I watched just on the computer when you guys were dueling them, and then when Rapid City dueled them, and they were marching up and down people in Wyoming. They were tough.
Yep, that's the best. I mean, okay, I've been towel tapping at the Rotary since I was in 6th or 7th grade, so that's 6 years. I've been 10 years pretty much or more. I've been around high school and college wrestling since probably 2008, 2010. And this is the best Sydney team I can ever remember, like full team. And it was interesting because I respect Guy Melby a lot. Great coach. He gets the most out of his kids. You can tell they really respect him. Usually he's in their ear right after a match if they're not doing something he wants them to do. Guy really didn't have to get out of his chair very much down in Gillette. So he's got a pretty good bunch.
Now, do you know are they older or are they younger? How was their teammate?
A lot of them are sophomores and juniors, actually, I believe.
That's kind of scary.
Oh,
yep.
That is scary. Yeah. And
they'll be back at the Rumble next year too. Just how their schedule works, he was telling me they're going to be or one of his assistants was telling me next year they'll be at the Rumble. So we'll see how they match up there next year too with this group.
Well, that's great. I paid attention to them because in the summers I'll stop through Sydney just because they have their county get together when I'm still in that direction. But they actually have taken their own team to the Disney duels and to all these, the junior duels. Sydney will bring just their own team, and that's phenomenal out of a small town to be able to do that. And we take our whole state, to try to do it.
They had their little kids out at the Rumble last weekend too. Their little shavers they had a duel. They didn't have their high school kids there because they couldn't compete, obviously, with their state rules. But they had a little kid dual team out there. So
you got snowed in too, maybe.
Probably. I'm glad I got out of there.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit of college wrestling. Let's move on. Tell us what was happening with Northern, our college man, Bill. You give us a little updates there first. And, we haven't talked much about SDSU. I should actually do a little bit with them. I don't know if you do a little research or not. Tell us about Northern first.
SDSU's been a little bit quiet lately. They did have. I think they were at the.
They went to the South Beach Duels and
they went to the South Beach Duels. That's exactly where they went. Yep. So, we do need to probably follow up on them. Another kind of a big South Dakota match going on tomorrow night is Northern is at Augustana. Always a pretty good duel. Augustana has really dominated that series over the years, but Northern did win the duel last year, and it was pretty exciting. I think tomorrow night's duel will be a pretty good duel. They match up pretty good at a lot of those weights. So that'll be fun to see. It's available to watch. The Augustana will have it streamed, so feel free to watch that. There'll be there'll be a number of North Dakota and South Dakota kids in the lineup on both teams. So maybe at least one North Dakota kid and a number of South Dakota kids. So that'll be kind of fun. Northern then goes to Marshall, Minnesota, wrestle Southwest Minnesota State on Friday. And that'll kind of finish up their week until next week. Actually, next week it'll be a Mary Northern duel. For whatever reason, it's in Northern again, 2 years in a row.
How close is that duel going to be?
I think it'll be pretty good. You mentioned the rankings and that Mary had one in the rankings, and it was Dante Springsteen, and I saw last night that Dante Springsteen is done for the year. So shoulder injury is
hurt his shoulder in the quarterfinals at the Midwest Classic.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate. We have not, of course, Billy's a 65 pounder. We haven't met up this year. We just weren't in the same spot. So I've watched him wrestle some, and he's a good kid. So we've had a few matches against common opponents, but they've kind of turned out the same way. So, but I don't know who they'll have in there at 65. They did have a red shirt that Billy wrestled at the Concordia tournament that maybe would come out. He's a tough kid.
They had that Peyton Hume kid would be my best guess. Mary's so dinged up right now. I went out there and practiced, and there's a lot of. I just think they're kind of dinged up right now. And I didn't even ask Aho. I didn't feel like asking what the lineup was going to look like. So I think there's going to be a lot of moving parts. They're at national duels.
Yeah, I was going to say they go to national duels this weekend, and I think that'll probably have a little something to do with what they do in the lineup next week.
Yeah,
that will be there'll be a lot of tough duels there. Now, I think our NSA schools that are going, we have three that are going, and it'll be Mary, St. Cloud State, of course, and Upper Iowa. And I believe Parkside's there too, so they're not in the NSIC, but they're in the super region. And I mean, all those teams will be very, very competitive with every team that they see. So that'll be interesting. So that's kind of one of those things I'm following. That's available to watch on Track for pay-per-view. I guess if you have Track Gold. But
who's the D2 school to beat? Is it Notre Dame? Is it Lindenwood?
It's St. Cloud State for
St. Cloud State too? Still number one.
St. Cloud State. Pitt Johnstown was preseason. They got a bunch of transfers in. There was that school, Wheeling Jesuit. Third last year. Their program kind of folded, or the kid that Tate Barnhart lost to in the semifinals last year was from Wheeling Jesuit. He ended up being a national champion. And then they had a national champion at 174, which was Phillips weight. And both of those boys ended up transferring to Pitt Johnstown. And so when they added those points in, plus Pitt Johnstown's like 5 other All-Americans, Pitt Johnstown was supposed to be pretty good. And then they dueled like in the first 2 weeks of the season, I think, out at that Journeyman Wrestling. Yeah. And St. Cloud put it on them. Good.
Yeah. So St. Cloud is the cream of the crop. I would not guess that anybody else as a dual team could compete with them. I will say that when you get to because they have to get everybody through the region, and most of the time they get just about everybody through. And then they have to get national tournament things can even up a little bit, and maybe a team like Pitt Johnstown or Notre Dame or McKendree or somebody.
Carney got some transfers in again too, so they'll be good.
They got
some transfers in.
Yep, they're starting second semester. And Carney will be at the national duels too.
I believe they're the 2 seed. I guess I'd have to look at the bracket again.
I had the bracket at one point, but I couldn't find it right now.
You remember who you wrestled from St. Cloud, Nate?
What?
Do you remember who you wrestled from St. Cloud?
Brett Velasquez.
He remembers who he wrestled in first grade.
Yeah. Brett Velasquez, he was a 4-time All-American, and he was a national champion as a freshman. Pretty good on top.
Yeah.
Pretty good wrestler on top. So
Yeah.
Well,
last year I kept it close, but he's a good wrestler, and he's a good guy too. I think he's he's going to chiropractic school at Iowa, so I don't know if he's University of Iowa. So.
I think he probably tried to adjust your back.
Yeah, probably did.
Yeah, that bent leg Turk that those guys all use, and it's they are very effective. And as soon as they grab that leg, you just got to know that it's coming. So, But I watched them duel Western Colorado the other night. Western Colorado was kind of interesting because they made a swing where they wrestled Augustana on Thursday, and Mankato on Saturday, and St. Cloud on Sunday. So, and actually Northern's going to duel them at Kearney here in a couple weeks. So, I mean, they're going to wrestle the whole NSIC. Yep.
Western Colorado is always tough.
Yep. No, they look pretty good actually, and they gave they gave St. Cloud some tough matches. I mean, St. Cloud won, but there were some close matches there. They fought every point.
Does Northern get to see McKendree then? And
no, we don't. We won't duel anybody else outside of the conference except for at the Kearney duels. We'll have 3 duels in one day, and there we see Western Colorado, Fort Hays State, and I do not remember who the other one is.
Not Upper Iowa or anything.
No, we'll see Upper Iowa.
Yeah.
Next Friday.
Okay.
Like we have Upper Iowa Friday and Mary on Saturday.
God, I try to think of all those D2 schools. When I went through the list, there was the one called Limestone, and I couldn't remember that one before I saw someone.
They're in South Carolina. Actually, I think Limestone maybe Mary's first duel.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah. I maybe their second duel. Maybe they have. I think Limestone might have a. No, I think it is their first duel.
Yep, first duel.
No, I know that there were some really tough kids from Limestone at the at Midwest Classic last year.
That would be the 3rd seed, though. You reminded me. James or Kisgin's team, McKendree. They're probably the 3rd seed.
I forget. I knew he was
number one would be St. Cloud. Number 2 would be Kearney. 3 would be McKendree, and then 4 is Pitt Johnstown.
Okay.
Yeah. How about a place like Lindenwood? When I remember going back,
they're good again.
Yeah,
they're good.
How about Mankato?
Good.
Mankato is another. It was actually that I watched them duel against Western Colorado the other night, and Mankato's tough. They're solid all the way through. They do have a number of ranked kids. They got a kid ranked at 165,
74,
pretty good. Probably 33, 41. They've got Louis Sanders. Yeah.
97 is he was an All-American a couple years ago too.
2 years ago, yeah.
See, people don't realize how tough D2 is too right now. It's loaded, when you really think about it.
It's a really, really good division. I mean, it really is tough. So we look forward to those duels.
Anybody want to talk a little D1 wrestling?
Actually, yeah, I will. But on the northern side, we still have we have to, when you talk about duels, and that's when people can come from Central and South Dakota, and they actually do get a really good crowd there. But the duels coming up still are at home are Mary, Upper Iowa. We actually duel Mankato at Mankato again this year. Who else is? We going to have Minot, but that'll be at home, so that'll be in Minot. That'll be in Minot. So that's there's a lot of tough, good fun duels to watch. So,
I think they tried to balance out the schedule this year because it was always 5 and 3, 5 at home, 3 on the road, 3 at home, 5 on the road. So this year I think it's 4 and 4. I don't know.
We'll actually wrestle Dickinson at Northern this year too, which we've always dueled them. Last year it was in Dickinson, but we will wrestle Dickinson also. So that's kind of a interesting duel for North Dakota flavor, because there's a number of North Dakota kids on that squad. So
that's another team we haven't talked much about, the Dickinson team.
Oh, I don't think they've done anything yet. They don't really wrestle till second semester,
right?
So they'll get rolling down. They've got
Fresh Jones is ranked number 1, but I don't know if he's wrestled yet.
Why would you say that some of these schools just wrestle second semester?
Well, Nate could give you the benefits of just wrestling second semester. It's a long season, and there has been a push to move the entire season to the second semester. You go through not only 2 holidays, which we run into. You also run into just academically, it would be easier if you're all in one semester. And I think that was the decision that Dickinson made. It was better for their athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I think the biggest thing would be, and then the other thing as far as like the NCAA, I don't know why NAIA, why Dickinson does it, but NCAA, then you could push like your nationals away from coinciding with the basketball tournament too. But I think it would have been nice. Really would have been nice. Doesn't mean you can't practice. Doesn't mean you wouldn't have maybe some open competitions first semester, but you could really load up on some hard classes first semester, and then take maybe 18 credits first semester, and then you could take more your 12, your 13 or 14 credits second semester. Give yourself a little.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So.
No, I there's been a push a few times, and I wouldn't be shocked if it happened at some time. It's hard. This sport is full of tradition, and a lot of people that don't want to see change. So a lot of things like that happen real slow. But I think I would be really I don't have any doubt that Dickinson is happy they made the decision. Everything I've heard from them has been that way. So, yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. I would say get out and watch Northern and Augustana tomorrow night. That will be a hard fought duel. I don't think they like each other, so it will be fun.
The interstate rivals a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just talk a little bit of D1. I'm dying to talk a little D1. Let's go straight to Spencer Lee. Looking good. Iowa, they had a great tournament, dominated. Let's talk about 133 a little bit. What do you think's happening nationwide?
Well, we're talking about the Midlands, of course. Spencer Lee looked really tough, but then he ended up medical defaulting out, I'm guessing, just to get a break. I don't exactly know why he would have, if you're going to come to the Midlands after wrestling the senior nationals, why you would just get a couple matches. It's not like he just needed a couple matches. But
so I was listening to the Flow podcast today, and there's more to it than I understand, but you have to wrestle a certain amount of matches to get RPI points.
Yeah, but he'll have that. It's 13. He'll have that.
Okay, I guess I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
No, he'll have his matches, but
I can't help but notice that last year he didn't have to. After he had that knee surgery, first year he came out, he wore that giant brace,
right?
And then last year he didn't wear it, and now he's wearing that big honking brace again.
So. I noticed it too. So I hope there's nothing there, obviously injury wise, because he is. I
thought you might know if he got hurt or not. Yeah, that
I did. There was no sign of him getting hurt. I also don't believe that he's afraid of anybody. So I just don't understand. It was odd to me. It wouldn't be strange to me for someone that has had a little bit of injury problems, or if you had a little break and you came back and wanted to get a couple matches and then take a break after that. But he just came through senior nationals. Obviously looked like a bull in a china shop. And I was surprised he came to Midlands at all.
Right.
He had nothing to prove except for the fact that he still hasn't won Midlands.
How about the fact that he has 2 national championships and he could potentially win a third, but he has yet to win Midlands
or Big Tens?
Or Big Tens, yeah.
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 Well, there's another one like that, Vincenzo Joseph.
Yeah, he hasn't won Big
national
Ten.
champion, one time runner-up, no Big Tens. So I'm sure that they'll trade it, but
yeah, no, for sure.
How about at 33? Now you got a couple Big Ten guys. You think of Seth Gross and DeSanto right away. You got Iowa and Wisconsin.
Don't forget the semifinal match with Gross and Rivera. I watched that one live. That match was straight fire.
It was a train wreck. It was really, really fun to watch. I don't know. I hated all the challenges, and it broke that match up. But that match could go any direction. I actually think the best thing for Seth Gross that just happened in that tournament, besides him winning it, is if the rest of the season plays out the way you think it will. He's number one at Big Tens, and the other two are 2 and 3. And I don't know who's going to win that match between Rivera and DeSanto, but my guess right now would be Rivera.
Yeah, he looked good, and I honestly, I almost would pick Rivera to win that weight after what I saw. How easily, without Gross getting that 6-point throw, Rivera was on his legs and finishing quickly.
Yeah. When you watch that, that's an easy, that would be a pretty likely scenario, except for the fact that Seth Gross is such a cerebral wrestler that he will make adjustments like you saw him make. And I obviously he never wrestled Rivera before. Not that he was overlooking him, but he will wrestle that match differently, just like you saw him wrestle differently against Santo the second time. So
Rivera looks good though. He's tough. I thought he'd be small for 33, and that would be a tough adjustment, or somewhat of a tough adjustment against some of these really good guys. But he can get to legs on anybody.
He's off fire. He's just I like how you said it, a train wreck.
It was crazy. And he did that collar tied to the ankle. He gets to that fast. He did everything he wanted to do on his feet. And that 6-point throw that's not your average 6-point throw, because that's from bottom. That was a reversal in forward near fall. That wasn't a takedown in forward near fall. It was really, if you haven't watched the match, you got to go watch it.
I did. Yeah.
I've got a couple others like that you should go watch. We'll talk in the next tournament.
Okay. Another one.
And they come closer to home. Now, when you talk 33, we get out of that weight class or out of that tournament. There's some other good athletes there. Roman Bracco Young is going to be really, really tough.
There's 2 ranked wrestlers which are local. NDSU and Wyoming are going this weekend. I know that Skykora and what's the Wyoming kid's name?
Montori Bridges.
He
is huge. And he has given Cam Sakura troubles in the past, but I think that Sakura can go with him. He's, Cam's getting, I don't want to say, I'll say it the same way people end up talking about Gross. He's getting better on his feet, and he's not bad on his feet. He can be really good, and he is as good as anybody in the country on top, and that would include Seth Gross or Spencer Lee. And he showed it at the Scuffle, and so I'm excited to see how that goes.
Okay, well, let's go a couple more. 41. I know that we got that Plecker or whatever.
Luke Pletcher's from Ohio State is on a real tear.
He is not.
I watched him for 3 years, and I don't know that I don't remember him ever scoring more than about 3 points a match, and I'm sure he did. And now he just scores at will.
I watched him wrestle on Monday against Arizona State, and I don't know how good the Arizona State kid was, but he had a 4-minute tech fall. Halfway through the second period, it was over, and looked really tough. Yeah. That weight is wide open, though. Just in my opinion, as close as he keeps a lot of his matches, I know he's been scoring more points this year, but I have a feeling when it comes to nationals, he might be a little closer to keep it a little closer to the vest. There's so many guys that are within 3 or 4 points of each other there that it's going to be really interesting.
I think Real Woods from Sanford is one that actually gave Pletcher a really good match early in the season in the duel at the Carvelli Center.
At Ohio State.
Yeah. And that was a really fun match to watch. My pick probably right now, and I do think the weight class is wide open, but my pick right now is probably Nick Lee. He's looked really good, and we're going to see him in more Big Ten competition. But Luke Pletcher's tough. If he
probably
can,
from my Iowa, probably their weakest weight class.
That or 184 probably.
84. We don't know. We don't know who's going to be there, but it probably is their weakest weight class.
And then at 41, you have that Dom Demas from Oklahoma who can inside trip and drop anybody on their head. So
Yep. Will. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I tell you what. How about there was some other news with Penn State that a couple guys are out today. That came out. I didn't.
Yeah, their returning national champion, Kassar at heavyweight, is done for the season. And I don't know if you were watching when he was wrestling at the senior nationals, but he was wrestling
Don Bradley.
In the semifinals. Yeah, in the semifinals. And I could picture Dom, and I couldn't say his name. And he all of a sudden his shoulder just went. You could see it happen, and it was painful, and it made me nervous for the rest of the season for him. And he's done. He's gonna try to get that right and probably come out and make a run at the Olympic trials. And then their 97-pounder Kyle Cannell, who transferred in from Cleveland State a couple of years ago, from 2 years ago. I don't know if he was injured or what was going on, but he was kind of I don't know if he was a shell of himself or if he was just completely out of his mind at the national tournament when he took third 2 years ago.
Right.
But he just has not performed, and I don't know what happened there, but they're going to move Shakir Rashid up from 184 to 197.
Okay.
Shakir placed at 97 a couple of years ago before going back down to 184. And then Aaron Brooks is going to come in at 184. So they're not
placed at senior national. Who placed at senior nationals?
Placed at senior nationals. Yeah. Actually, yeah, and he'll be in the mix. I mean, he's gonna, he's an All-American. I think that happening is gonna. It makes it really tough to believe that Penn State can beat Iowa, but it'll be a good. I think it's still going to be a pretty good team race between those two. After that, I think it's going to fall off.
I think it definitely opens the door for Iowa. It really does. I think.
Iowa's no doubt. Even before that, I think Iowa at this point has become the favorite. And we can go back to where we left off. 149. I actually, I said, and I remember watching Pat Lugo wrestle at Fargo, so I followed him for a long time, and I was really, and he went to Edinburgh to start with, and Billy had gone to wrestling camp at Edinburgh, and so that was we kind of had fun following that team, and he was an All-American at Edinburgh. And so that just kind of have followed him over the years. And since he has come back since he moved, transferred to Iowa, he has not excited me one tiny bit. He has scored very, very few points, lost a lot of very close matches, and now he's ranked number 1 in the country, and he looked really good at Midlands.
Him and Fletcher are a lot alike. In how they don't score a lot of points, but then this year they're starting to, as seniors, they're starting to open it up a little.
So he's ranked number 1, and you say, yeah, well, okay, that's a lot of points for Iowa. Well, he could place 8th. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, the guy that's ranked 8th from Iowa State has beat him 7 times. So Max Thompson from Northern Iowa surely has been tough on him through the years. 149 is wide open. That's probably the worst weight class in the country.
How about 57? How was that Caleb Young?
That's another guy. He's going to probably place, but where he places, if he could place 3rd, he could place.
He could place 2nd. He could place. He can't. He can't. Well, he could place 2nd, or he could place 8th. I don't think he can win it. But I watch him one time, and I get kind of impressed, and then I watch him and he kind of reverts to the mean. But he's a really good wrestler. Obviously, we're picking guys that are going to be All-Americans, but he is kind of hard to read where he's going to end up.
I haven't got to see Burge wrestle from Penn State.
Bergey's wrestled 1 match this year. He got a concussion at U23s World Championships back in in September, October, whenever that was, and he's been out. He's wrestled one match. I hope we start to see him this week. That's what I hope.
I heard a stat today just talking about how well Iowa wrestled. I want to throw this in before I forget, but so Northern Iowa's ranked like fourth or third, fourth, fifth, depending on what you see. And you're talking about everybody falling off after Penn State and Iowa. So I believe Iowa won the tournament by over 70 points over Northern Iowa. Mm-hmm. And Northern Iowa is a potential like third or fourth place team in the country. So that just shows like how far Penn State and Iowa have separated themselves this year. And then it's going to be a dogfight for those next two trophies. Like between teams 4 through 10, whoever has the best weekend could end up with the trophy.
And when you say that's with Spencer Lee, medical forfeit out, and they're starting 174. Kemmer not in the tournament. So
and their 97 pounder is probably expected to do better than he did too. Yeah.
And then you know what? One thing I actually kind of like Jacob Warner, but when I watched the 97-pound true freshman last year from St. Cloud, from South Dakota State, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, but I do know it.
Sloan.
Tanner Sloan tech falled him. Made him look like a middle school wrestler from the bottom position. I just can't unsee it. I just keep thinking this is going to and then I don't see Tanner Sloan do the same thing a whole lot more, although he has. I'm in a fantasy wrestling league, and he's on. I picked him up because I knew he was getting tech falls. But so Jacob Warner is one that I've seen really be pretty exciting at times and do some pretty good stuff for that weight class, but
sometimes he doesn't score a lot of points either against guys where it's like, you should eat. That's armchair quarterback in it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, that's what we're doing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's what John pays us for.
Yeah,
that's right.
I love it because I tell you what, the next weight class, I think that could be one of the tougher ones when you go to 65 and you got White and you got Joseph and Marinelli and you got Wick and you got Fogarty actually wrestling well from NDSU.
Stanford guy, what's his name? He's good, really good too. He's from New Jersey.
Griffith,
yep.
Yeah. And then you got Virginia Tech,
McFadden,
back down there at 65. He beat Wick, in the semifinals of the scuffle, which kind of surprised me. I don't know why, but it did kind of surprise me. But I didn't think that was going to happen, but I did want to see a McFadden Marinelli match, so I was glad to see it happen, kind of, even though I'm a big Evan Wick fan. But I did want to see that match, and Marinelli looked really good. He looks really good.
He finishes so quick, and he doesn't get sprawled on, and he finishes so quick. He's a bull.
He is, yeah.
I'm such a homer on certain teams. It's bad because we'll do like right before the D1s. Bismarck High actually has a little draft on a Buffalo Wild Wings for D1 wrestlers, and I lose every year. We actually have about 40 people show up down there.
Well, you know how bad that is. I'm in a fantasy wrestling league, and I got 3 guys from NDSU on the team, so that's terrible. I'm not, yeah. So, but I did that for a reason too. I thought Cam Sikora is one of the leaders in tech falls in the country every year, so that he was a pretty easy pick for me. And then at 165, I think Fogarty is fantastic, and he's going to score a lot of points. And so, and my number 157 pounder is Hayden Hidley, but as a backup, I did get Jared Franick. So that's how I'm a homer, I guess, too.
Right. Has anybody touched Mark Hall this year then?
I don't think so. I want to see the Kemmer Hall match, but I just don't think that's even close. I don't think it's a major, but I think it's a 6-7 point match. I don't think anybody touches him. I think he wins both those matches by about as many points as he wants to.
Well, you got to remember that this is the same Kemmerer that wrestled Nulf and was able to wrestle Jason Nulf as tough as anybody else too. So
yeah,
at
157.
Yeah.
So Kemmerer looks great too. So I think Kemmerer is very possibly the second best guy in the country.
They do duel, but I don't know if they'll actually end up wrestling either. So that remains to be seen.
I believe Hall will walk on the mat. I do not know if Kemmer.
Yeah.
will wrestle.
I think we could have watch parties between the three of us.
Yeah.
Oh, that duel is that's in January, isn't it? I think it's coming up not that far away, but yeah, I don't think anybody touches Mark Hall. I really don't. I think he's really good.
Yep.
And he's just and really he just knows how to win. I mean, he wins matches. He does everything he needs to on top. He's going to get takedowns. He's really, really hard to take down.
And when you think of somebody,
if your name isn't Zahid Valencia, I don't know how you score on him.
Yeah, somebody's had a name since they were 6th, 7th grade. That is one that's gone a long ways. He's been known for a long time. It's crazy how it is. Going into Apple Valley from Wisconsin and then winning all of them in Minnesota, and it's kind of fun.
Actually, he came to Apple Valley from Michigan, but he spent a year in Kentucky before that. So
Kentucky, even
he went to. I don't want to. Yeah, he went to 7th. He spent 7th grade in Kentucky. Took 2nd at the Kentucky High School State Tournament. And the reason that he moved out of Michigan is 7th and 8th graders cannot wrestle in the state tournament or in the high school season. So he had some cousins in Kentucky, moved to Kentucky, took 2nd in 7th grade, and then moved to Apple Valley and went to 7th grade again, and then won 6th grade championship.
That confused me because when he had won at 7th grade there in
twice. Yeah. No, yeah, he was and he is not he is 2 months older than Billy, right? So I mean it's not like he was a young kid in his class like kids are sometimes, and now he's an old kid in his class, obviously. But at this point, he's the same age as every other
senior,
true senior.
Yep.
He didn't redshirt. So,
and then next week class Valencia, I believe. Yep.
184. I should actually. We just go back to 174. I watched that duel you may have the other night too, with Ohio State and Arizona State. And Caleb Romero really, really impressed me for Ohio State against Anthony Valencia. And Anthony Valencia, to me, still is a mystery. He is
freestyle. He places at U.S. Nationals and beats really good guys at 74 kilograms. And then folk style. I didn't watch this match from the Ohio State duel. I just caught the matches on Big Ten Network afterwards. So I just caught each individual match. But for his folk style results, do not match up with his freestyle.
No, and it's not. When that happens sometimes, you get a guy that's really good at parterre, or he's really good at turning guys from maybe head pinches or something. That's not Mitch McKee would be one. You're right. He's going to be great in freestyle and some of that folk style. It doesn't translate. That's not the case. The way Anthony wrestles, he shoots blast doubles and he takes people down and. He doesn't ride anybody. I mean, it's not like he's turning. I mean, he's a pretty good gut wrench, but that's not why he's winning freestyle. He's winning on his feet, and he gets I do not understand it. I have not been able to figure it out, and I've watched that kid wrestle for a long time because 8th grade Billy wrestled him at Fargo, so he kind of bounced into our radar a long time ago, and so when you're at a tournament and you see a name that you recognize, you go and you watch him. Well, he turned out obviously to be pretty dang good.
Beat Imar, made the junior world team like you thought, like he's gonna.
Beat Imar at Super 32. He beat Mark Hall at the Monster Mash. He looked great. He was at one point he was the top in the same. Well, he was the top recruit in the country his year, and that was the year him and Zahid both came out. And the year before that, he was number 1 pound for pound in the country. In a group of kids that had Imar and Mark Hall and a bunch of those guys. So but I will say Caleb Romero looked awesome. He looked like the bully down the street that wasn't taking anything from anybody. They would go off the mat and he walked back to the middle with a strut like he was king of the world. He looked really good. I actually kind of excited to see him and Mark Hall wrestle. But so we go to 184.
There's a kid from Purdue that won Midlands that's undefeated too. That Dylan Lighty has.
Dylan Lighty, yep.
He won Cliff Keen Las Vegas, and he won Midlands, and he's undefeated. He beat the Northern Iowa kid both times. He's the guy that's probably gonna. I don't know if he'll beat any. He's wrestled Mark Haltup before. I don't know how he'll do against Kemmerer or some of those guys either, or even maybe like a Caleb Romero guy. But he's tough. Purdue has a pretty good team. I honestly, if Purdue has a legitimate shot to put 3 or 4 guys on the podium, and that might be enough with this year, that might be enough to get a trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys keep going. I got something.
Yeah. So 184. It's Zahid's world, and everybody else is living in it. But there's guys in there that are not afraid to wrestle Zahid, and I think Aaron Brooks will be one. They wrestled it, and Zahid put it on him a little bit, but there was some. Yeah, there's going to be a little drama there. I mean, Aaron Brooks told him, "I'm going to pin you in March." Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's gonna, but no. He's been pinned before. Yeah. Last year. So I think Zahid is the cream of the crop there, and probably the favorite to win the Hodge Trophy, and he'll do it at that weight class. Besides that, I don't have any rankings in front of me, but I know that Hidley from North Carolina has been number 2, but he lost to Dupre. They're 1-1 with each other, 2 1-point matches. They could wrestle 5 times and be 1-weight matches that go either way, I think.
That's a really deep weight. That's another weight where there's
from 2 to 8 there's probably
even down to 13 or 14. There's some really good guys that might sneak in that blood round that are really good wrestlers. I can't tell you either the rankings off the top of my head, but
yeah,
there's some good guys in the teams there too.
I know Iowa's Wilkie picked up some pretty big wins, and he wasn't ranked last time.
So we can go back to talking about your favorite Iowa team, but they do not know who they do know who their starters be, but nobody else knows who their starter is going to be. They had 3 guys in the bracket at Midlands. A true freshman took second. The other 2 guys that have had started for him, Nelson Brands and Cash Wilkie, wrestled for third. And Wilkie won that match.
Ultimate tiebreaker or double overtime.
Yeah. That match could go.
So they're going to have
When I watched that match, it was kind of a snoozer because I'm sure, they knew what was on the line. But Brands seems to me like he can hand fight, and he's in great shape. He can hand fight with the best of them. So if it turns into a brawl where he's in better shape than the guy, he's the guy to pick. But he got to Wilkie's legs, but he's smaller.
He's small. He's a 74-pounder.
Yeah, exactly. So he had a hard time finishing.
I bet he walks around at 183, 184.
Yeah,
I
bet he's probably naturally not even that big. He's trying to put on size.
I was working at a table at Fargo here when he was a senior. He was wrestling 60 and just looked like a 60-pounder. I mean, he was good. He's great. And he'll be really good at 74, and he might be really good at 84. He could grow it, but he's not getting any taller. I mean, he's Nelson Brands, and so it'll be interesting to see.
I find it hard to believe that they'd pull a red. I don't think they'd pull a red shirt.
I do too, but I think Abe Assad's the best wrestler of the 3. He's the most offensive. He has the most different attacks. At least that's what I've seen. I haven't seen them all wrestle a bunch of times, but Cash Wilkie's never impressed me. But he has had some good wins.
Mm-hmm.
Down below that, there was one guy that I thought was going to be in the mix at 184 from Cornell, Ben Darmstead. 84, he has not been a good weight for him. He's got up 97, and I think he's going to be right in the mix for a national title at 197. So,
yeah, because Colin Moore almost was beating Hayden Zilmer in the U.S. National Finals at 97 kilograms and ends up losing in the final seconds. Yeah, 8-0, 9-0, ends up losing on criteria. And you're like, okay, this guy's the second best guy in the nation outside of a couple like Kyle Snyder and Jaden Cox and those guys. You're thinking that the whole match. because he beat Gadsden too, and then he barely beats Cordell Norfleet in the duel against Arizona State. So like, what is Colin Moore? Where's he at? Like from match to match, you don't know.
Yeah, I tell you what, the Cordell Norfleet looked awesome in that match. He
Jesse Shear wrestled him back in the day, I think, in the Christmas tournament finals.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he really looked good. I mean, he got the first first takedown for sure. Maybe the first 2 takedowns in that match, and he looked really, really tough. He kind of run a lot of gas towards the end, and that's not a good situation against Colin Moore because he's going to keep coming. But it was close. I mean, that they've had 2 close matches this year. And once a guy gets some confidence and you get towards the end of the season and you can see, that there is some chance to, to win that match, he could come around and win that match. But I think
that could easily be a number 1 versus number 16, like round of 16 match. That's like way too close to comfort for Ohio State fans.
Yeah. I think Norfleet's 2-3 or 3-2. I mean, he's so he'll end up with some more wins, but he's not going to get a lot of matches. So
have you seen that Sloan wrestle from SDSU?
I've seen him wrestle a few times. I watched him wrestle. Obviously, I was talking about that when he tech falled Jacob Warner last year at the Midlands. He just tilted him up a pile of times. He's long. He's from Iowa. I can't believe that those 3 schools in Iowa let him get out of the state.
From my understanding, he's a farm kid, and he wasn't really getting. I don't know if those schools didn't recruit him, but I think he really liked what South Dakota State had to offer for like ag school. I remember talking to Bono, or they interviewed Bono because Bono, he came from Bono's.
He recruited him. Yeah.
Yep. So
he's good. I
haven't seen him wrestle.
He was ranked that high to begin the year, basically.
Because the weight class completely cleared out, and he had a really good redshirt season. And he tech fall Warner like 17-2.
So he's still having a good year, but he's taken a couple losses. I don't know to who, I guess, but he's taken.
Yeah, and I don't. It'll be interesting and he's still a freshman. He's just he's a redshirt freshman. So he'll be. I would be shocked if he didn't All-American, to be honest with you, in this weight class. But now we got a new player in this weight class with Shakir Rashid coming up,
and Darmstead
coming up. So that's actually going to be a pretty fun weight class, I think.
Yeah, because I was listening to that Flow podcast again today, and they were comparing Penn State to Iowa, and then, how good is Shakir going to be? Because he didn't do that great. Well, he All-American, but it wasn't as high as people were expecting down at 84 last year. Now he's coming off hurt knee. How's he going to do at 97? Well, for people who are thinking he'll probably place like 6, 7, 8 at 97, he major decision the guy who's currently ranked number 2. So there's a lot of disparity. There is some disparity at 90.
He could pin anybody. He's got really, really long arms, and he must have a great grip. He kind of reminds me a little of Philip Springsteen. He's got long arms and great grip, and he gets his hands locked. You're going in your back, and you're probably not getting off. So that's it. Actually, will be kind of a fun weight class. Heavyweight,
the old labor move for Mary.
Yeah,
cradle him up in college still.
It works.
When it works. Yeah, heavyweight.
Yep.
That kind of. I think
made it more interesting. I
think you can call it. I think we got a champ, and everybody else is trying for somewhere on the podium. I think there's, Gable will run away with that weight class. I would probably have said that he's going to win it with Kassar in it, just because I always kept thinking he should win those matches that he lost. So that's just my probably.
Iowa's undefeated freshman.
Yeah, it's it's a race for who can make. It's a race for who can make the finals. I think you could make on the other side of Gable, and a lot of those guys are in the Big Ten. There's that Mason Paris from Michigan. There's Cassiope. Who else am I forgetting?
Central Michigan.
Yep.
Hilger from Wisconsin.
Yep.
Tate Orndorff from Utah Valley. And
there's a lot of those. Now the Penn State kid, that Penn State kid is no slouch. Nevels is no
Seth
slouch.
Nevels is great. He lost one match in all of high school wrestling in California. 3-time California state champ. I mean, they're going to pull his red shirt and he's going to be the heavyweight, and he could surely All-American. And a lot of these guys can go on a run. I'll bring up a couple things that happened at the scuffle, and one is the Northern Colorado kid. He is
good on top.
Hammer on top. He wrestled Brandon Metz in the quarterfinals. It's a kind of a typical first period. Although Brandon, the guy probably scouted him, was not going to tie up with Brandon. He kind of stayed away from him. Brandon picked bottom and got promptly put to his back twice. He did the same
thing in the semifinals too. I heard he picked top on the pit guy and tapped him.
Yeah, Brandon picked bottom. He got and at the end of the period it was 10-0, and so of course he picked top in the third period, and I was really impressed. So that you get to the right spot in the national tournament, that you know how that can change a match. That 4-point near fall is a game changer. Mm-hmm. So something weird could happen there, and then. If you haven't watched, you got to go back and watch Brandon Metz in that. You just watch all of his matches. They're always fun to watch. 2 times, Brandon Metz is on his back and ended up going from his back to putting the other guy on his back and pinning him twice in the same tournament. It was unbelievable, and it was kind of fun to watch. But Brandon could. I think he must have had. At least 3 pins in that tournament. So
just talk about Metz for a second. He'll qualify for nationals, correct? You think he could come out of there? And
I would think so. I don't think there's a lot of really tough heavyweights in that conference. I don't know how many. Really, what it comes down to is
Northern Iowa. He's lost to this year though too, I believe.
I don't think Oklahoma State's very tough at heavyweight. Nope. Oklahoma University is not really tough at heavyweight. Tate Orndorff from Utah Valley is the best guy in the.
That's a guy Brandon's beaten before too, though, right? I think.
Yeah, and he's he's a Greco guy too. So he's going to wrestle in there kind of like Brandon does, and if Brandon gets to his position, we all have seen how that ends up sometimes. So I think
heavyweight's going to be really fun.
I think he should qualify for nationals, but it'll really depend on how many Big 12 qualifiers they get.
Heavyweight's going to be really fun the next couple of years because then you just add Kirk Fleet and Colton Schultz from Arizona State into the mix, Penn State and Arizona State. Those are 2 other blue chip heavyweights. Like heavyweight was down for 1 or 2 years post like Kyle Snyder and those guys, and now it's like really good again.
Yeah,
all these young heavyweights, like wow.
You've got Gable for 2, this year plus 2 more years. You got Kirk Fleet for 4 years or 5 years, whatever he's going to be around.
Who could very well be on the national team too, as a right out of high school,
true freshman. Yeah.
Freshman.
And Colton Schultz is really good, like you mentioned him. Cassiope is going to be good for a few years for Iowa, and I assume
Minnesota's young heavyweight, that's Stevenson.
Yep. Yeah. Hilger
from
Paris.
From Mason Paris, so will be good.
A very fun weight class.
Yeah, and there's other guys we haven't mentioned that could be on the podium. Jacob Wood from Lehigh could be on the podium. It'll be a good weight class. It'll be fun. There's a lot of wrestling that's going to get really, really fun here in the next 6-8 weeks. So
everybody's looking forward to going to Minneapolis. So
I sure am. I can't wait.
No doubt.
But yeah, there's a lot of wrestling to watch coming up. And it's hard. It's really hard. And I know Nate's probably runs into this. It's hard during the high school season when you are wound up in that season. And if you're a wrestler or a coach or a parent, to follow the college season with as much stuff as there is to watch, it's hard to watch it all. And now this year we ended up with all these, we'll call them pre-Olympic things happening too. So I mean, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. I
used to get it all, but you do have to pick. You have to pick and choose. I didn't watch any of the scuffle, and I chose to watch kind of Midlands instead, and it's tough.
No, it's really hard, and people, we hear a lot about how, oh geez, it's hard for the casual fan to watch a lot of this stuff. Well, that's probably true, but the casual fan's not going to go out there and try to find the scuffle or the Midlands, and I guess I wouldn't qualify, but
Flow's pretty nice.
Flow is awesome. I mean, it's really, really great. I just and not to mention track wrestling, and I think there should be. I haven't looked. There's a really good international tournament this weekend, and I have not looked to see. But usually, a guy can watch some of that stuff. But that's
live. Those ranking events are all live on Flow now too.
Oh, they are? Okay, because I knew they were live. Oh yeah, they are, and they used to always be live on the UWW site. But so if they're live on Floor, that means a guy doesn't have to watch them at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. So I can be able to watch them the next day. But we're going to see really probably Frank Chamizo, Kyle Dake match this weekend. So as much stuff as we've been talking about that's exciting coming up, that will be the best match in the world.
Yeah. So, Fix and Gilman
Fix and Gilman. Fix and
Joe
Gilman
Cologne.
Right up. Joe
Cologne.
Yeah. Yeah. So that, I wonder if that, yeah. So, there's a little North Dakota flavor there, right? So Joe Cologne's training at Fresno. So that's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there's some great women going to be there. So of course, Terry will be over there. So yeah, it's a great time to be a fan. And I recommend, Nate's mentioned a couple times, if people have any opportunity to want to follow wrestling on on the audio side, that Flow Wrestling podcast is a lot of fun. And there's a few others. You go to Matt Talk Online, and Jason Bryant's got about 17, 18 podcasts on there from different colleges and in different shows around the country. So there's a lot of ways to follow the sport.
Well, there's a new podcast that I like. There's, like we were talking about, there's not enough time to listen to everything, but there's a Wrestling Changed My Life podcast.
Oh,
there's a wrestling.
Great.
I haven't started. I want to start listening to that one.
Listen to don't search through there. You can't listen to them all.
Where are you picking that up from? So people can actually go see that.
If you just go, if you have
Twitter, I get a lot of my Twitter.
If you have a smartphone, an Apple phone, go to the Apple Podcast app or any podcatcher that you might use, and just type in wrestling. You'll find a lot of them. But the Wrestling Changed My Life podcast is done by a guy from Illinois. He's actually originally from Iowa, but he's done a good job. He has the podcast, the interview that he did with Troy Steiner is awesome. So if you go to that podcast, it's Wrestling Changed My Life. Type in Troy Steiner, you'll find it.
My life, okay.
Yep. So if you need, we could. I could send you that. I could send you probably a link to it, and you could put it somewhere in the.
Definitely, because when I work out and do that other stuff, I always have something in my.
Oh yeah, you got to work out. You got to be one of them guys. The rest of us are just trying to work and watch wrestling, and you're going to work out. So, so yeah, there's a lot of great podcasts. If anybody has any ones that they're looking for recommendations, there's a lot of them out there.
We'll have to make a list, because if you can make a list, I'll put it online and we'll get.
Yeah, we could do it.
You're wearing a shirt of one right now too, aren't you?
I am. Blood Round Wrestling Podcast. It's not RAG rated, so you have to. It's PG at it's PG-13. But no, it's two guys that drink beer and talk about wrestling. There's another great one, the Inside Trip Podcast. Those guys are out of Ohio. It's another really good one. So they talk about, and it's mostly college, in international wrestling, but it's just fun stuff to talk. It's just like us talking about wrestling. The Blood Round guys are from Michigan, and one of them's a referee, but they're just wrestling fans. They just started doing what we're doing, I guess, 5 years ago. So, well,
I tell you what, guys, if you guys are out watching this, we've already gone over an hour, and I know we could go a lot longer. But if you're out there, share this, guys, because there's more people out there that love the sport like we do. Push it, because I want to promote the sport. There got to be more fans out there. That's been my whole goal for 20 years, is make sure wrestling gets the publicity it deserves. And guys, we're going to wrap it up. I know we could talk wrestling on lots of things. Last thing, I want just Nate Humann, If you were, let's say, where do you want to be in wrestling in 20 years from now? And we'll end with that. Tough wrestling, because I'm a lifer, so I'm past that 20 years. Where are you going to be 20 years from now? What kind of should we go?
I'm gonna leave this kind of open because I don't know. I want to leave it to where my life can go a lot of different places. But I want to have a very well developed wrestling program, whether it's high school. I mean, I love college wrestling, so I'd never want to say that I'd never coach college wrestling again. Or I love college wrestling and the intensity of college wrestling, so I can never say no to that. But and where I'm at, I'm really happy, but I want to have a well-developed wrestling program where kids love the sport or my athletes love the sport as much as me. So that's what I want to be doing 20 years from now.
Awesome. Great job. Well, guys, I'm going to cut it, and then we'll visit again. Nate, I love having you on. You got the college background, and I love always talking to you, Bill. Anytime. We're going to have more. Again, we'll come back Sunday, and we will talk a little bit about how the Rotary results went, and maybe a little bit of Castleton, and I'll take a look out there, and we'll see. I'm going to try to get Troy Steiner on here in the near future, and also a couple of other head wrestling coaches. So if you are another coach out there and want to get on, talk wrestling like us, feel free to contact me, John Gums at DakotaGrappler.com, or just go on Dakota Grappler. You'll find my stuff out there. I know you can. Okay, guys, you guys have a great night. Promote the sport. Enjoy wrestling this weekend. Take care.
Have a good tournament.